Alright folks, here we go. You're here again with Rogue Outfitters in Southern Oregon, a premier blacktail outfitting guiding service here in Southern Oregon. And this is one of the designs that we have that we use for our pole feeder, our supplement feeding program for our blacktail population. We feed our blacktails about 10 months out of the year, supplemental feeding. Does a couple of things. You know, blacktails can be pretty migratory, and this helps keep a herd pretty well fed on our property, so they don't have to quite migrate as far as they normally would. So we keep a residential deer population hanging around on our properties. And two, it gets really hot and dry here in Southern Oregon without a lot of feed on the ground. So during that time when it does happen, that extra feed on the ground really helps boost the nutrition up to the deer for a couple of months in July and August. We might not see a drop of rain that whole time. So it helps put some feed on the ground during that drought time. We hang our feeders here because we have about 30,000 bears in Southern Oregon, and feeding bears is really discouraged, and you're not allowed to bait bears either. So we use Antler Max. We'll talk a little bit about that later. It's a protein pellet that's water resistant in our feeders and works really well. And we'll show you what that looks like here in just a couple of minutes. And we use the Remington hanging game feeders that work really well for us. They're an inexpensive feeder, and that's basically what I want to touch upon. You don't have to spend $200, $300, $400 on a game feed system to be able to attract deer and hold deer on your property. You can put something together real simple like this. What we basically have is a galvanized pipe. I think this one's a 3-inch pipe that we picked up actually at a local scrapyard. You can go to your local scrapyard and pick up Galvi pipe, steel pipe, metal, whatever. Don't have to go and buy brand new Galvi because it can be kind of expensive, but we got lucky and picked this up pretty cheap for about $35. We put an elbow up at the top, got it about 10 feet off the ground. We buried it about 3 feet deep, so the pole's about 13 feet deep, and sunk it in a couple of bags of concrete, so it's pretty well set there. And then how that canister is hanging from the top is over here on this tree. We have a good old Harbor Freight special winch, just a normal crank winch, and works really well for us. You can just crank that bad boy up and crank it down, and that cable right there goes all the way up to the feeder. And then what we've done is just drill the hole in the top of the metal pipe and just attached a carabiner to it, and then just threaded the cable right to the feeder. And then so we come down here about once every 3 weeks and refill this feeder. We just crank it down, refill it with feed, and then crank it back up. And that'll keep game on your property year round. It'll bring game in. We post our trail cameras here to see what's going on. And there's a trail camera right over there on that far tree. I don't know if the camera here is going to pick it up or not. Right there, we got a trail camera there, and it shows me everything that's going on in front of this field here. There's a nice panoramic view of Southern Oregon. And that's the setup of one of our pole feeders for our Remington wild game feeders. And we'll get into a little bit here the type of feeder that we're using and why we use it. But we have about, maybe $45, $50 into this setup for the pole, the concrete, and the cable crank. Works really well for us. Again, you don't have to spend a ton of money to put something together. It takes about 2 hours to set up, to put the concrete in and get everything all set, and then you're good to go. So we'll cover the feeder and the type of feed that we're using here in just a second, and thanks for checking us out here at Rogue Outfitters. Hey folks, welcome back to Rogue Outfitters here in Southern Oregon. We're just kind of touching base here a little bit and finishing up about our simple pole feeder designs. And what we have here is just our Remington feeder can with our timer set, and the type of feed we use. This is the Purina Deer Chow that we use by Antler. It's called Antler Max Technology. It's a really good product. We like this product for a host of reasons. It's a really small, fine pellet, so it doesn't get stuck in the hopper. It has a water-resistant coating. I don't know if the camera can actually pick that up, but they're pretty small pieces. The hopper doesn't get stuck with it very easily. It just distributes it real nice. It's also coated. It's a water-resistant coating that Purina puts on these, so they won't gum up inside of here on hard rainy days. Usually your cans have a lid on them, so that's usually not too much of a problem getting down inside of it. But if you took this and just dumped it out on the ground on a hard rain, it would kind of muck up and get kind of clogged up. But in the feeders with the lid on it, a little bit of rain or dew doesn't really foul it any, so it's really good. It's a high protein pellet, and the other reason we like it is the bears seem to not be really crazy about it. Since we have a really high bear population, we're trying to avoid drawing in any bears around the feeders. So it's good protein pellet for the deer. We use it year round, and the bears don't seem to care for it too much, and so it works really well for us. So it's a Purina Deer Chow Antler Max. Works really, really well. Quite a bit of this. This is our Remington game feeder. You can find these Remington game feeders just about at any big box store online. We buy these in bulk, and I think we pay around 20 bucks for them when we buy them. We get them on sale, 20, 25 bucks, and that's for the feeder bucket and the hopper, and it comes with a basic timer. Now we usually keep those timers, but we pay for an upgraded timer. We actually buy these Remington, it's a quartz timer that you can purchase actually separately for about another $15 or $20, and we like these because you have more set time options. The other one works on a photo cell, and it's just the one that comes with it, and it just goes off twice a day, at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. This one you have up to 8 settings on your timer when you want it to come on and off. So we have a tendency to like this one a little bit better. It's a little bit more flexible. They run on these 6-volt batteries, rechargeable 6-volt batteries, and basically when you have your system all set up and you're getting ready to hang it, you have 2 ways to distribute your feed, to the volume of feed. One, there's a duration knob on the inside of here that you can set the duration, how long you want it to go, from just a couple of seconds to 30 or 40 seconds, and you can adjust the bucket height, how high you want it up off the hopper. The closer it is to it, that little paddle, the less feed it will distribute. The higher it is, the bigger the space, the more feed it's going to distribute. So the height of this hopper from the bottom of the bucket and the duration is going to dictate how much you put on the ground. Early in the year and throughout the summer, we put quite a bit of feed down, just a supplementary feed, get the health of the herd up pretty high, keep the deer on the property, help with the antler growth. And then as the hunting season gets a little bit closer, we start closing this distance down and turning down the duration. I'm not really trying to feed because everything's really green out and there's a lot of feed on the ground, but also I don't want them coming in at the middle of the night and feeding during the middle of the night because I'm putting so much feed on the ground. So we'll start turning this down and having it go off about an hour in the morning and about an hour right before sunset, and not put a lot of feed on the ground so they're not coming in late. They know whatever's on the ground they got to come in and get quick before the other deer do. But this whole system right here ran us about 40 bucks. I've seen them on sale with the upgraded timer as low as $29 and as high as $49. But this is just a normal Remington game feeder you buy right out of the box. You put all the guts inside of it, hook it up to your rechargeable 6-volt battery. It has a little lid, goes on the front here, keeps it all nicely attached, keeps it water resistant, keeps the water out of it, and a full bucket on moderate duration will give you about 3 weeks worth of feed in here at a time, so you don't have to worry about filling it up for every 3 to 4 weeks, and it works really, really well for us. Some of the ones that we have on a further piece of the property, we use a bigger bucket just because it's harder to get to a further spot, and I don't want to have to go in and change feed or fill up feed every 3 weeks. Because it's further away. But when you're running a dozen of these on a piece of property, sometimes having a little bit bigger bucket will help. But for you guys who are just getting started, this works great. So for under 100 bucks, you can have your feed bucket with your timer, rechargeable battery, your pole that we showed earlier how to design and set up. So under 100 bucks, you can have a year-round feeding program, supplemental program to attract game on your property and the whole game on your property. And like we mentioned earlier, make sure you check with your wildlife agencies to make sure supplemental feeding and wild game feeding is legal where you guys live. And that's it, folks. It's just a real simple, easy design to attract deer at your location that you can do for under 100 bucks, and bag of Antler Max will last you a whole month, and hopefully keep some game on your property and help keep the critters that you don't want in out. My name's John. Thanks for watching. And again, it's Rogue Outfitters here in Southern Oregon. Look us up online at rogueoutfitters.org and see what we have going on down here in Southern Oregon, and maybe we'll see you out here and do a hunt with you sometime.